webinar. So that'll close out Chapter 2 for us, and so we're going to move on to Chapter 3, which is crowdsourced webinar content, what they want to hear, not just what you want to talk about. And I touched on this briefly earlier when we kind of discussed formulating your webinar topic. So we're going to dive into this a little bit deeper and address the ways that you can get your target audience to generate that topic for you. And I thought this little comic was pretty fitting. We've got people, us on the left here, what we want to say, the message that we want to tout. We've got our prospect audience on the right here, what they're really interested in. And then we've got this little tiny sliver of relevance in the middle that we really need to focus on capturing. So how do we actually do that? So I put together 5 ways that I think you can generate some relevant content. And I know we mentioned the Twitter discussion before as far as kind of captivating your audience, but I think this is another great way to go about that. Registering a hashtag, and I'll show you the example of what we did here to crowdsource the content. Like I said, the hashtag at the beginning was webinar wake up. We promoted our Twitter discussion on the Twitter channel itself, obviously. We pointed to it in a reminder email. We pointed to it in this hello bar. This is an example that goes on the top of our website when people see it. It drops down. We put it in our newsletter. We put it in our LinkedIn discussions. And we pointed back to Twitter as the channel to start generating points of discussion, questions that people might have. So again, we could craft some of our messaging around that. And I'll pull some of these questions in a little bit later on when we get to the Q&A portion. But we generated a pretty decent amount of discussion on our LinkedIn channel. So it's a fantastic place to start getting people talking about, to figure out, again, what is relevant to them, not just the message that you think you want to tout this month. 2 and 3, LinkedIn group discussion in a blog post. So what we did was then took that hashtag, we began a LinkedIn discussion and pointed people back to Twitter, or we asked them to leave their comments in the thread on LinkedIn. And then we promoted those discussion points on our blog, and we asked for additional suggestions. So this is not kind of just a one-off random promotion. I'm going to send an email and hope that helps to generate a good audience that is the target audience that I want to. I'm actually pulling from live discussions and using those to push to my other promotional channels. Number 4, utilizing the FAQs on your website. If you haven't thought of this before, this was kind of a newer one to us too, I would say in the last year. But those questions that are continually coming in through other teams throughout your company that you guys are updating every, maybe it's monthly, maybe it's yearly, to put on your website, why aren't you using those to generate the topics for your webinar series? Obviously, they're a pain point for people. And then lastly, taking advantage of other departments' knowledge, especially I would say here your customer care team, because they know what people want to know. They're talking to them day in and day out. And this actually, 1, is going to make your topic more relevant, more timely, and 2, it could be a factor in driving up live attendance rate, because now your customer care team has an additional place to push those people, maybe not just to the website, to the FAQ section, but now they can point them to maybe it was a recorded piece of content that you've done to answer these questions. Maybe it's a live webinar coming up. So certainly areas to think about when you are trying to generate relevant content. And so your next steps here, when you are promoting them to the channels that you've tapped in to generate those ideas, it makes it far more relevant. It makes it timely. You're addressing the challenges that these people are coming up with and spouting off on these different channels. So it's thoughtful. It's not just a sales pitch anymore. And again, it could be a factor to increase your live attendance rates. So I think when you kind of put all these signs together, Charlie Sheen would say that we are winning. All right, so I'm going to hand it off to Eric to give a couple more examples.
Sure. I guess my last example is, we were talking about keeping our audience engaged. I think we should reward them for attending a webinar, for engaging with us and answering questions. So I'd say keep it fun. Maybe put them in a raffle. So let's do it right now. I'll practice what I preach. So what we'll do is I have a poll question. If you answer the poll question, it's just about what your greatest content challenges are right now. Then I will award 2 random respondees 2 free blog posts on anything that they want. So anything and any topic that you need written, we'll write it for you and deliver it back. So thank you for participating, and I guess this is another idea you guys can kind of take with you and answer in your next webinar. So what is your biggest challenge with content creation? Is it not knowing what to produce, not creating enough? Is it that you're not sure how to measure the performance of the content, lack of budget, lack of time, or not getting enough views trying to promote it?
That's interesting to see that lack of budget is not one of the content challenges. That's awesome for those of you that have a good budget. I feel like sometimes that could be one of the first ones that is cut out of this process.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Okay, well it looks like mostly it's around measuring content performance and promotion and lack of time. I think the latest Content Marketing Institute poll from the beginning of 2014, it was lack of time was the first one actually. But I guess there we go. To each audience is different.